Welcome back to the Successful CEO Story Part 2. So let's continue the journey. If you haven't listened to episode 1, make sure to go back and listen to how my story began. And it leads right into now into what happened next. So we left off with hearing about how I started 7 years ago and how on earth I went from this thought to make lip balms to now having, this $1 million company and retiring my husband. And the other part of the story is, how did I become this business coach? How was I able to scale both? And this could be an episode 2 where it's like we talk about how do you have children and, be teaching at the same time, because I just left my teaching job in September of this year. So it really wasn't that long ago. And I'll share that journey in another episode, but how can you hold and handle it all as a mother? And how are you able to scale one business and then another one as well? So there's so much juice and gold that's going to come up for all of you entrepreneurs that are listening. But yeah, like going from leaving my teaching job, and it wasn't an easy thing. Like it was extremely scary. And what I ended up doing is, every year was a little different. After I had my third child and I was on mat leave, I really wanted to leave. I wanted to leave my teaching job, but it didn't feel like the exact right time. There was a lot of fear that was in the way. There was a lot of what ifs. There was a lot of like, I don't think that my product business is making enough. And now the coaching business was, not really bringing in so much money. I was doing some intuitive sessions, but it wasn't like my big money making activity at the time. It was like a lot of energy was really focused on my product company. And for this to be that gateway to leaving my teaching job and then moving on to be a full-time entrepreneur. And so after I had my third child, which was like 5 years ago, which is insane to think about, I wanted to leave, but I ended up doing it in incremental steps. I ended up going down to part-time teaching. But this year, universe had a whole nother plan. It was like literally the year from hell. I took the safe route, even though my soul and what I truly desired was like, let's go all in on the business. The safe, logical part of me was like, well, let's just do it a little bit, which is totally fine too. Like, this is your journey. You don't have to jump fully off the cliff and leave your job and go straight on into your business. And in fact, I think it's smart to start to build your business first, build it to this space and this place and this, have these foundations and start to have it be this sustainable resource and start to see it being the scalable enterprise. And then leave your job, like for you to just leave your job and you haven't even gotten your foot in the door, you haven't even created this brand presence, there isn't really any income coming in. It does take time to build this. It takes time to become a successful CEO. So if you hold a job right now or you're thinking about leaving, start to build your business alongside it. And then you'll know when it's time to leave. And so this year, where I was like, I can't go all the way in. I'm just going to go halfway, have some days to work on my business, and then I'll teach on the other days. It was like the year from hell. The universe was like, okay, girl, this isn't your soul aligned path. You need to leave your teaching job and you need to go this route. And, I'm kind of thankful that I did go back and I got, this through the year from the universe, this like confirmation of where I was supposed to go, because that's exactly it. Like I got the confirmation. I went back to teach. And what I mean by the year from hell is there was just like some conflict and drama and toxicity happening in the school I was working at the time. And, the other teachers in the classroom beside me. So like absolutely not enjoying being at work and being in that environment. Our daycare quit on us like the first 2 weeks. So suddenly we had no daycare for our youngest. The other two were now in school. And so my husband and I were scrambling. We were scrambling to find childcare. And if I were not teaching, it would be a lot more easier for us to figure it out. I could have watched my little one during the day on the days that I was, not teaching, which would be Monday to Friday. And then we would take turns on the days because he works shift work. So he's working 12-hour shifts. So he did have some days off during the week. So we would definitely like make that balance somehow. And so I got that confirmation there. And then, so we found a daycare, started taking our child to the new daycare, but we had a couple months where that daycare spot wasn't readily available. And so we had a couple months where we had to ask my grandma, we had to get his dad, my father-in-law, we had to use our sick days. Like, it was very stressful. And as a teacher, when you're already working part-time and then you have to use sick days and childcare days to take care of your family, it's very stressful as a teacher, right? Because the parents are depending on you, the principal, your teaching partner, the children, like, it's just not fair on anyone. And so that is what we went through. And it was like, it was the worst year. And when we did finally get into that one daycare, they then decided to go back to work, to start to go back into the workforce and close their daycare. We're like, not again. Like, and our kids were getting sick all winter long. And so, my husband, when I talked to him about going full-time into the business, he was afraid and he wasn't supportive of it. So I went down to the part-time, even the part-time, he was afraid of that. And so not only did this year of hell and the universe saying to me, like, look, this is what you got to do is so evident. Here's the boulders, like, universe is going to throw these pebbles to put you on your path. And then if you don't listen, it's going to be like the stones. And then if you're really not listening, it's going to be the big boulders in the mountains. And so I had the big boulders coming at me that year. And, because of that, it confirmed what I need to do. But also too, going back that year, making that decision, it also allowed my husband to see what is best for our family. And so since it was so stressful on him to have to take these sick days and the stress of finding childcare, he was very on board with me leaving teaching and being home to have that flexibility for our family and to have, our mornings, instead of rushing off to send the kids to before and afters or before childcare and daycare. It was like insane in the mornings. It was so stressful. And instead of having that, it didn't need to be rushed. And I would be home. And if anyone was sick, I could rearrange my business schedule, right? Like, that's the beauty and the bonus of having your own business, especially too, if it's like an online and e-commerce style. So he was on board. And so the next year, there was no wishy-washy energy. It was like that year validated, that year set in stone. It was like, you're taking a leave. So I ended up taking a leave of absence, and then COVID hit. And there was this opportunity to teach online. So as I was starting to go from just like intuitive readings to starting to coach too, people were coming to me to be their coach, and also growing my product business, the opportunity came up for me to teach online. And I thought, well, this is perfect. I could still teach right after school's done because the days weren't as long with the online teaching, and I could hire people to make the product. And so I ended up going back the next year. But let me tell you, that next year, again, was validation of this isn't the path for me. And as I was teaching, I just yearned to be full-time doing my business. I didn't want to be there. I mean, I love the kids, of course, but my heart and my soul was wanting to lead women in business, was wanting to be, creating podcasts and doing programs and trainings, and just having my days where instead of being stuck at the computer teaching, if I wanted to go out for lunch or meet a friend for coffee or take my grandma somewhere, or go visit my mom, or run out and grab myself some lunch, or get a massage, like that I couldn't do. I had such a restrictive schedule. So yes, I had a full-time teaching income coming in alongside my businesses, which was like such an incredible year, but I was so unhappy. And I remember that last month, I was just like, this needs to be done. I cannot wait. And I would be so jealous of other entrepreneurs who were full-time, having this freedom, this flexibility to just fully grow their businesses. And so again, I had that confirmation. I was like, that's the last straw. And as soon as I was done teaching, I was like, universe, I am done. And I ended up donating all my teaching supplies. I was like, energetically, I need to like seal the stamp here. Like, I am done. I am done. I am done. I am done. No more. And so that was the journey of me going from, a teacher, and then taking that big leap. And then I ended up taking some leaves of absence because you have a couple of years to do that. And finally this year I was like, what am I doing this for? No more leaves. Like, let's just cut this. Let's just cut this. And I end up resigning. And that is the journey there. So it wasn't this overnight boom, let's just like be a business owner. It was like I had to build and scale both businesses, and I had to do what was best for my family while listening to my intuition, while also bringing in some logic. And then again, working with the signs, the signs from universe, the, direction of this is what you're supposed to do. And if you're not doing it, there's going to be resistance. There's going to be things in your way. You're going to be unhappy. You're not going to feel connected. You're going to have this desire and yearning and this screaming from within saying, this is what you want. And I was having that. And the key here is along your journey is to listen to the calls from your soul, to pay attention to these signs of where the universe is leading you. And so now, because of my own journey, I know this like so evidently and so clearly now. And now I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And then for my husband, leaving this summer, that was a scary thing too for us to do. And what ended up happening is one of the employees for our product company, she ended up deciding to go full on in the business with her husband that he was growing. And she was such a beautiful addition to our team and a savior. She's so good at her job. And this, though, was the moment where my husband and I had been speaking about eventually him leaving his job at the jail, because on his days off, he started stepping into the company and printing off labels and packaging up orders. And he was starting to have more energy into that, while I was starting to focus more energy into my coaching, where like my heart, really lies, where my passion is on fire. And so this was a sign for us. It was kind of like this now or never sign, where she was leaving, the new school year was starting. The company was only continuing to grow. I wanted to fully be invested in coaching. And so I said, hey, she's leaving. This is our sign that you come full on in now. So take over her role, continue to do your role. And we just pulled the trigger. The thing is with entrepreneurship is it is about risk taking. It is about like taking the leaps and following what you truly want. And even though from the 3-dimensional logical way of thinking, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, that's not smart. He has a full-time job, a government job, benefits, pensions, same thing. I just left my teaching job. And here we are about to have my husband leave his full-time job too. So now all of our income, our house, our mortgage, our children, like our food, our pool that we had just got in, like all of this is dependent on the success of our business. But I was willing to follow what felt really good for us, even if, some people say, well, no, wait a few years, build all this equity first, like build all of this, income first, have this cash flow. But I just knew in my heart, I had resisted before the universe. I had not listened to the signs. And this time I chose, I'm listening. This is the biggest risk I think we've ever taken. But if I want my businesses to be successful, then I know that this is the next best move. And so we did. So we took the leap. And so now this year's been about him full time. He's over at the production space. We have one other employee. We have a couple. We just hired a marketing team as an addition to continue to scale our business. And I'm literally in my office, which is such a beautiful view. I have plants behind me. I have a plant in front of me. I got my candles. I got my sage. I got my crystals. Like I got my phone to do all the reels and the TikToks. And I'm leading the most incredible woman. Like this is where my heart lies. And I'm able to do this while a business, a product company is growing my company without me even being there. And these are the things I want to lead you through over these podcast episodes. Like, how on earth does this happen? How are you able to even have these multiple incomes? How are you able to scale a business when your energy is not even really there, not even really present? And so where do we go from here with this story? I mean, I want to get it to the point where even our production facility now, it'll get so big that we're going to have to move to a bigger space, more employees. My husband hands off with the product, no longer, packaging or making the product. He's up front, dealing with customers and invoices and, printing off the labels, hands off that, more of the boss CEO energy there. And then for me, I want to continue to scale past my 6-figure years into the 7 figures when it comes to coaching. So there's a lot of dreams. There's a lot of things that we want to manifest. But what I can tell you is every single freaking thing that I desired, that I saw for myself, 7, 6, 5 years ago. Cause at first it was just a little bit of a hobby. And then I started to go, whoa, this can be something massive. This can be something big. I can turn this into a freaking enterprise. And so I did. So I was able to manifest all of these things. And now, my future, what it holds and where I want to go is going bigger, is going massive. And I know it's going to happen because I have that trust. I have that faith. I know what I'm able to create. And now it's about me building my business in a way that can foster this, that can hold this energy, and me doing that work, not just the taking action, which I am a big, I will sit there and say over and over and over again, cheer this on with my big freaking megaphone saying, you have to execute, you have to take action. That has to be there. But also too, that inner work, this knowingness, this certainty that this shall be mine. This is going to be mine. This inevitably is mine. And that is the mindset you want to have when you are growing into a successful business, when you're wanting to manifest exactly what you want. It is yours. Let me be living proof, living, breathing proof that this can be yours. Whatever your dreams are, whatever your goals are, whatever you want to create, whatever company business you want to have, it is yours. But you do have to be an energetic match for this reality. So this is definitely a episode that I want to dive into. Maybe I'll make it episode 3, being the energetic match for exactly what you freaking want. Okay. This was so good. Thank you for listening. Again, make sure to comment, to subscribe to my podcast, to like it, to share with anyone you know who needs to hear these words of wisdom. Make sure, to screenshot when you're listening to an episode, because that's going to really help with the success of my podcast and more people in the world who are female entrepreneurs who do want to learn how to scale a business, who do maybe want to start their own business, or they have one now and they're like, hey, let's go to the next level. They can definitely benefit from listening to these episodes. I love you, and I will catch you on the next show.